Hello and welcome as we are back again. First things first here, let's get it. Bison Football, they played Missouri State last week. What was your first impressions of the game?
Well, Joel, Missouri State, that game was really important for the Bison to bounce back from that UNI loss. I mean, really, when you're looking at it, the NDSU didn't look good at all against UNI and on the road as well. And so it was really vital for NDSU in order to keep that number one seed or a shot at the number one seed in the FCS playoffs to really bounce back. And they did exactly that. Carson Wentz especially.
Just slinging.
Right, exactly. 5 touchdown passes. And really, that was an important game for his psyche too. If you're going to be the leader of that offense, you have to have a good mentality, and he really showed that he was able to bounce back from the UNI game.
He bounced back nicely, too. He threw a couple picks in that game early and then just came roaring back, poured it on late.
Exactly, and yeah, Wentz is going to have to continue to show that if NDSU wants to make a legitimate playoff run again this year.
Well, I think part of the key success to this group is this senior class. There's been a lot of talk. Some people are saying that this might be one of the best classes in FCS history. I know, looking at things first, you have an outstanding wide receiver with Zach Vra, who's climbing the ranks up there for NDSU in all the receiving categories.
Mm-hmm. And Zach Vra, if you're looking at it, Kyle Emanuel is in that class as well. Mm-hmm. Christian Dudzik, Colton Heagle, who are both on pace to set the career tackling records at 1 and 2 respectively.
Yep.
And Zach Vra as well. You see third in receiving yards, third in receiving touchdowns.
Also, there's like a lot of that Bison defense. That's a very good veteran defense. A lot of them are climbing those ranks too. As you look at the career solo tackles at NDSU, and I mean they're up there with some of the NFLers with Craig Dahl and Ramon Humler and Joe Mays.
Yep, absolutely. Colton Heagle, I think, is still on pace to have 200 career tackles at NDSU, which is insane, especially considering that he's a safety.
Yeah.
But that really speaks to those guys' athleticism and the scheme that they're in, that they're able to get those tackles from the safety position. And normally, when safeties are leading your defense in tackles, that's not a good thing because that means guys are getting back there.
You're getting torched.
But NDSU has outrageously good defenses. So, I mean, if you're looking at it, NDSU is... And looking at the senior class, Travis Beck, Carlton Littlejohn are both seniors. I mean, those guys are really standing out for this team.
I mean, they really fly the ball, not to mention Esley Thornton, who was converted later in his career, too. But then also, Kyle Emanuel, I mean, he's just been so impressive this year.
Mm-hmm. And he had 4 sacks in one game. He had 3 of those sacks in the first half. I think that was against South Dakota State.
South Dakota State, yes.
And, I mean, just his performance overall, he's getting tackles for losses. He's batting passes down.
He got a pick last game and then runs over the quarterback, too. How much pain can he cause?
I don't know. He's really, like, I don't want to draw, like, crazy comparison, but J.J. Watt of the FCS and able to make all those different plays. All he needs is to score a touchdown as a tight end.
I know. He's a little underrated. I think people still overlook him. I mean, he's not – I don't think he's up there for the Buck Buchanan Award, is he? Like, I saw he was something like that, but I don't –
Yeah, he's in consideration for that. We'll see if he actually does get
become a finalist, or I don't know if they've announced that yet.
Right. But I think if we're looking at Kyle Emanuel's future after this season, I honestly think that he has NFL potential.
I've heard, Coach Kleiman said a little about it. He definitely has the tools. The only thing that the NFL would knock him on is he's a little bit undersized, and that's hard to think about. You see him in person, I mean, he's just huge.
He is, I mean, but that you're comparing him to other NFL talent, which is at a defensive end, looking at J.J. Watt, that man is a man among men.
He's stacked.
But Kyle Emanuel, I think, even has the athleticism. You see that at the defensive end position. He has the speed to play maybe that 3-4 outside linebacker. And we see that getting interceptions. We see him making plays all over the field. So I really think that he has potential to do that. Maybe that kind of blitzing outside linebacker.
Yeah.
He can certainly put pressure on the quarterback. But I don't know if we'll be able to see him do that if the NFL overlooks him for exactly that purpose. There's a lot of
interesting.
There's a lot of defensive ends who are a little bit undersized, but are still able to make plays at the NFL.
Another Bison player that we might be seeing on Sundays is John Crockett. I recently saw that he just got accepted into the East-West game at the end of the year. I know he's getting up there too in all-time ranks at NDSU in 5th. He has a chance to catch his predecessor, Samuel Ojuri.
And, he really is kind of been a consistent factor for NDSU, rushing for over 1,000 yards in the past 2 seasons, and now he's up there this season as well for 1,000 yards. And honestly, he has the playmaking ability. He has the speed. He has, I don't know. He still has to work on the intangibles a little bit. He still has to work hard at it, that's for sure. But he can make plays out of the backfield as a pass catcher. He is a decent blocker as well.
He was, I gotta say, he's one of the best finds that NDSU's have. I know a lot of Big Ten schools, he had offers, but he didn't have his academics. And once he got that going, and once he got that all in line to play on the ball field, he's been something special, I think.
I think so too, especially for NDSU, who's won 3 straight national championships. Crockett really kind of stepped into that role that Sam Ojuri had when DJ McNorton was there in 2011, which it really speaks to the program too, that they're able to continue finding these guys, King Frazier, for example, who are able to step into that backup running back role and just keep churning out these talented running backs.
Just the stable that they have here at NDSU now. Senior Day, Saturday, it's going to be pretty emotional for these guys against Youngstown State. They're playing a Youngstown State team that might, they'll pull into their bag of tricks, pull out some gambles because they need to win to get into the playoffs. What do you think is going to be the outcome of that game?
Well, I think before the UNI loss, I predicted that NDSU would lose to Youngstown State at the end of the year just because it's so hard to go undefeated and go undefeated twice back-to-back.
Yeah.
And so I thought that NDSU might let up a little bit, maybe consciously or unconsciously, let up a little bit against Youngstown State. And YSU, the Penguins, who have to win this game in order to get into serious playoff consideration for the playoff bracket.
Couple years ago, and they beat NDSU.
Yeah, and exactly. And so, and I think NDSU, historically, the past few years, their couple losses have been at home. So that's why kind of I thought that
nervousness there.
Yeah, I thought that they would pull it out against UNI, but obviously not. But I think that game has kind of served as the
tone setter.
Right, the reminder game that what you have to do to win. I mean, these guys obviously know how to win.
Yeah.
But I think that, especially since NDSU is still 3rd in a lot of the rankings, that they'll really, really want to win this game if they want to be number 1 or number 2 seed to have that home playoff.
Quick prediction here before we go to the break.
NDSU, I'll go with 34, Youngstown State 21. I think that the Penguins make a few plays, but I think NDSU really has it locked down, and they have, like we talked about, the veteran senior leadership to get this done at home.
I'm going to go 35-13. There's a true freshman quarterback going against that defense in an atmosphere like the Fargo Dome. I don't see him making that many plays. Well, that's it for Bison Football. Stick with us as we take a look at the NFL playoff picture next.
It's a bird. It's a plane. No, it's the power of free checking with Kasasa. First Community Credit Union offers free ATMs, mobile banking, and are conveniently located right next to the campus of NDSU. We also offer Kasasa, which is a free checking account that pays you cash. Kasasa requires no minimum deposit to open, no monthly service fees, and don't forget the free ATMs. Discover the power of Kasasa at your local First Community Credit Union. The NDSU Bookstore, where every true fan and alum goes to get their pride on. Gear up with a variety of high-quality t-shirts, sweatshirts, hats, and more. Made by top-of-the-line brands like Under Armour, Nike, and CI Sport to help you show off your Bison pride. The NDSU Bookstore has everything you need in your two favorite colors, green and gold.
Well, welcome back to Game Point. Now we will be discussing the NFL. Well, we got some NFC North connections. Let's take a look at the NFC North standings first. Bears against Minnesota, they really eked out. It wasn't the prettiest game, but they got the job done.
Yeah, I think Jay Cutler had a little bit of a bounce-back game. I mean, he had 2 interceptions, but one of them was kind of a Hail Mary at the end of the first half. So, I mean, 1 interception to 3 touchdown passes. I think that really is what the Bears need most of all in order to continue succeeding. And that was kind of a game of the bottom dwellers, really, because you're looking at Minnesota, who's struggling as well.
Do you think that this game could prove as a little bit of fool's gold for future of some of the coaches on the Chicago team?
Maybe a little bit. I think Chicago, what they need to do is stick to Mark Trestman for at least 1 more year, because Jay Cutler, he's struggled here and there. He's had mental errors a little bit. But I think it's a lot because they've changed offensive coordinators and quarterback coaches for so long, for so many times since he's been with the Bears, that it's really difficult for him to have any sort of stability. You saw that with Alex Smith, who went through, 5 different offensive coordinators in the 5 years he was with the 49ers. And then he gets stability with Jim Harbaugh and excels. So, I mean, you really have to have some sort of stability if you want a quarterback who struggles with mental errors to have, a good coach, a good quarterback guru in Mark Trestman.
Well, we're over the halfway point at the NFL season. This playoff picture is shaping up to see something that we really didn't expect, especially in the NFC. As we look at a couple of top 2 teams, I mean, who predicts Arizona and Detroit?
I mean, pretty much no one. And I don't think I predicted, at least, that Atlanta would be leading the NFC South at 4-6.
The NFC South being so weak, this is one thing. I thought Carolina, they did so good last year and everything like that. Cam Newton, he's hard to figure out. I mean, he comes out with his rookie season. It's a little bit of a sophomore slump. Backs out, and now I think he's sort of proving what NFL quarterbacks who are very mobile in the pocket, or mobile, they don't last that long.
And, it is kind of, you got to have the right offense, and you've got to be able to develop a quarterback arm at the very least, because mobility won't get you there by itself.
Yeah.
You can run the Wildcat all you want, or the read option all you want. That's not gonna succeed for an NFL offense. And if your defense isn't playing like the Panthers did last season, I mean, they're still good, but they're not as good as the season before. I mean, you've got to be able to have a little bit of a passing attack, and it really is kind of sour grapes for the Panthers, who are seeing Steve Smith do so well with the Ravens. And I mean, granted, they've got Benjamin there.
He's been what a lot of people have hoped him to be, especially when they're like, oh, we're not going to bring anyone back. We're going to put a lot on this kid, and he's fulfilled that.
Yeah, he has excelled in that role. Greg Olsen is another receiving target for Cam Newton, who's doing decently well. But yeah, I think that the Panthers and the whole NFC South is really surprising to me because I thought the Saints would do so well. And, I mean, the Falcons are leading the NFC North, and they're tied. They have the same record as the bottom of the NFC North in the Vikings.
What's surprising also is Seattle and San Francisco, between what's going on with them. Seattle getting knocked off. And then, two, is San Francisco. That team looks like it's imploding, it's self-destructing with that defense. I mean, granted, they lost. They don't have Dontrell Willis there. Navarro Bowman wasn't there. Alton Smith wasn't there for the majority of this season. He's finally getting off his suspension. And you have a head coach where a lot of players don't even think he's going to be back next year. That doesn't really add well.
No, and you see this with the Seahawks. I think that the Seattle will bounce back and they'll find themselves in the playoffs by the end of the year, whether that's getting the NFC West title or finding themselves in the wild card. I think that they certainly have the poise and the leadership to do that. You don't see that with the 49ers. You see a little bit of mental instability with Colin Kaepernick. I think that even if you've got Frank Gore, who's doing so well.
He's very explosive, but there's been times where he's a little reckless with the ball.
Exactly, and that's not going to bode well for an offense, especially when your defense isn't, like the Panthers, isn't doing as well as expected, and not being that top-notch defense that everyone's accustomed to.
Well, looking at the AFC playoff picture, we might have another traditional Manning versus Brady in the conference championship. How do you think that's going to shape with the way this playoff picture is looking right now?
I love that matchup. I think Peyton Manning versus Tom Brady, that's so interesting, considering how, Manning has the most touchdown passes of any quarterback in NFL history, but he struggles so much against Tom Brady. It's weird.
Some of that, too, it's Belichick. I mean, I'm not one to say, Belichick, the Patriot way, blah, 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 and just gush over that. But I think Belichick, a lot of people say, too, is he takes your best option and gets rid of it when you play them, and you have to deal with that. And then he's just been kryptonite to Peyton Manning.
Yeah, and it's weird because, the Patriots lost to the Dolphins earlier this year, but then they can simply dismantle the Broncos, and they very certainly have the potential to make the Super Bowl this year.
I'm going to say there's something that happened in that locker room after the whole Tom Brady overreaction Monday, I'll admit, where people are calling for his job and telling Jimmy Garoppolo to maybe get in there and
oh boy.
There's something, I think it was Brady or Belichick. You could tell the way that Belichick, too, when he had that press conference where he's like, we're moving on to Cincinnati, when they're asking him all these Brady questions, he's like, you guys don't see this in the long term.
Yep, exactly. And that goes back to the Patriot way of, Tom Brady and simply the stability that he's had with the Patriots. And he certainly has the leadership capabilities in the offensive know-it-all to succeed.
I think it's interesting, too, is this AFC North. The Browns were leading this division last week. They lose a game, and now they're at the bottom of the division, and now it's Cincinnati. That's tight.
Super competitive, and that's really fun to watch. That's what I love about sports, is that it can be so interesting and things can just flip in the blink of an eye. Like the Browns, where they're leading and now they're at the bottom, but they very well could be leading next week.
Josh Gordon's back.
Yeah.
He's off his suspension. And then I think that's going to help Brian Hoyer out a lot, who's been struggling lately. We've seen a little bit of Johnny Football fever slowly spreading.
I think for the Browns, though, I think that you want Brian Hoyer under center. I think that he especially has the ability to get it to Josh Gordon when he comes back. That's going to be instrumental for this Browns offense if they want to get going, because the Browns defense certainly isn't the problem.
And I know, too, it was a small sample just watching Johnny Manziel in preseason. You could definitely tell he wasn't adjusted to NFL speed, where he tried to get out of the pocket and sort of do a little bit of razzle-dazzle, but he realized how fast those linebackers and how fast those linemen get on you, where he couldn't escape or make one more move and then throw it deep downfield. Or the margin of error was just so much less than college football.
And that mental intangibles that an NFL quarterback has to have, I mean, if you're flipping off a defensive player in a preseason game,
The whole bench.
right?
The whole bench of Washington.
Do you not realize you're on national TV? I mean, do you not get that?
Even with college football at Texas A&M, I don't think how he could have gotten away with that because there's so many cameras there too.
Right, and so that just shows that he does not care. He doesn't care. He doesn't care enough.
He doesn't. I think it's the maturity issue there too, where he doesn't realize this.
Right.
Well, I don't know. That's all that we have for the NFL today. Coming up next, Bison basketball. Stick with us.
The NDSU Bookstore, where every true fan and alum goes to get their pride on. Gear up with a variety of high-quality t-shirts, sweatshirts, hats, and more. Made by top-of-the-line brands like Under Armour, Nike, and CI Sport to help you show off your Bison pride. The NDSU Bookstore has everything you need in your two favorite colors, green and gold. It's a bird. It's a plane. No, it's the power of free checking with Kasasa. First Community Credit Union offers free ATMs, mobile banking, and are conveniently located right next to the campus of NDSU. We also offer Kasasa, which is a free checking account that pays you cash. Kasasa requires no minimum deposit to open, no monthly service fees, and don't forget the free ATMs. Discover the power of Kasasa at your local First Community Credit Union.
Well, welcome back. As we close out the show, we are going to close it out with Bison basketball. I'm a little rough this past weekend.
For men's basketball, yeah.
For men's, it's a tough task. You got to be patient with them. Number 10 against Texas, number 25 Iowa, both on the road.
Yeah, you can't really compare these two teams because Texas is the number 10 team in the country for a reason.
And then, too, they had that big freshman recruit who was number 2 in the nation last year, Miles Turner. He didn't even start. He's definitely not a 4-year player. It's definitely, we're going to see this kid in the NBA. But just talking to some of the guys or whatever, when he came off the bench, the place went nuts. You think someone like him, who's just an athletic freak at 7 feet, can do everything, is going to back down Kading, and you're a little worried that he's going to dunk on him. And then one of his first shot was just a beautiful mid-range, mid-jumper, and he was hitting stuff like that all night where he had 15 points.
Yeah, if you're focusing on NDSU's aspect on this game, I think that you really have to just take away, you have to have kind of the moral victories a little bit. That is not like the best thing for an athlete to think about it like that, but you're a mid-major team in the Summit League. I think that the best thing you can do, especially a game that's non-conference, that's not going to go against your Summit League playoff seeding, you really have to take something away from it, and you really have to improve.
Well, that's something that Richmond said too. He said basically Texas and Iowa are not going to define our season. We're going to work every day to get better. And I think a lot of people, there's so many new players, new coach, where there's some wiggle room where it's what we expected a little bit.
And you've got to warm up a little bit during the season. And you're starting the season against number 10 Texas. You got to work your way up to that a little bit. And so naturally they're not going to be firing on all cylinders. like they may have done last season, where they've got all of that senior
just
leadership
right out of the gate.
right, and they had that upset against Notre Dame. But that's because they had so many good players that were so experienced and seasoned that, you know, they had that potential to beat those teams, those higher up teams. But
it was a swing of the spectrum there too, because NDSU is one of the best shooting teams in the nation last year, not just like sort of in the Summit League, like within the nation. They come out this year, they shot 17 of 62 at Texas. That's not going to get you far. And then you shoot 18 of 67 at Iowa. It's not really a recipe that you want to go with.
no, absolutely not. But they've got to work these kinks out to begin the season, I think, first and foremost. And we'll see how they do in the 2K Wounded Warrior Nation, or Classic, rather.
Tonight.
Yeah.
And then Saturday, too.
Yeah, and so I think you've got to really use those games to measure yourself up to other teams when you're trying some different things out to start the season out, I think. When you've got Lawrence Alexander, who's getting used to the rest of the guys playing against that top-notch competition.
Yeah. He just played his 100th career game, hasn't missed a game yet, hasn't missed a start. Absolutely tremendous what he's done here.
And he is the leader. He's
the only senior. He is the heartbeat of this team.
Right, exactly. And so the offense and the entire season is going to start and end with him. So, but you've got to see those other guys too, a little bit of potential and development, like Chris Kading, who is going to be your starting center most likely.
Yeah.
So, and he's got to develop a little bit. He's got to have build an offensive game up a little bit too. But most of all, I think is most important is that defensive mentality from him, because if he's your biggest guy, you've got to be able to stop your other big men. Yeah. It doesn't really matter where you're getting your scoring from. Yeah. You've got to stop other teams from scoring their way. So you've got to be able to have that big guy who can slow down those other postmen in college basketball.
Had a little bit of, I wouldn't say like pleasant surprises like they knew, but some of the freshmen that have stepped in with redshirt freshman A.J. Jacobson and then Miller, they've filled in nicely. I think A.J. Jacobson, his role is going to be equally as important
because he is kind of a guard playing at the number 4 for NDSU.
Yeah.
You know, you officially list A.J. Jacobson as a guard, but that means you've got 4 guards and a forward.
Yeah.
I mean, A.J. has to be able to guard against those power forwards in the Summit League. So he's got to get used to his position a little bit too. So his development is certainly going to be key. We already know what we're going to get from Lawrence Alexander and Corey Brown. They're both pretty good defensive guards, and you know they're offensively developing too.
I think Carlin Dupree, this is going to be something interesting. It's going to be his first full year where he's getting starting times and getting plenty of minutes. Coach Richmond said that he might have been one of the best athletically gifted players to come into this program, and that speaks a lot. It's just now that he has to hone in everything and put it together, I think.
And so, and it's going to be interesting. It's going to be very important for Richmond to develop a scheme that involves all of these guys and can get them meshing a little bit, both on offense and defense, because Dupree and Lawrence Alexander can be your point guards, and Corey Brown's kind of your shooting guard, but like he was last season, but he's kind of being forced into the small forward role.
Yeah.
So, I mean, you've got to develop that a little bit. You've got to build that chemistry a little bit if you're going to have that different lineup. You know, we'll see how Dexter Werner does when he's coming off the bench, or if they mess with the starting lineup at all, depending on who they play. So he's kind of your defensive big man as well, if he can stay out of foul trouble.
I'm just going to say, too, size isn't really, well, it's within a year away, but NESU just recruited a couple freshmen or forwards, big 6'8", big 6'7", people out here. Gang Dao, who was originally from Fargo, actually, and then he moved back to he moved to Sioux City, but it's going to be sort of interesting for him coming back to NESU for a little bit of a homecoming, I guess.
And that's definitely going to be interesting to see. I think that NDSU, they have to have that physical presence down low, because that was where,
With Marshall.
Right, with Marshall Bjorklund, that was where last season they were able to succeed because he locked it down. He
Yeah.
was physical. In the NCAA tournament, he had his face all beaten up. I mean, none of those guys really came out unscathed, and they've got to have that physical presence, certainly, if they want to keep winning like they did last year.
All right, well, that's all that we have for this show of Game Point. Remember that it's a whole new ball game.